Hello, and welcome to the Field Guides. I'm Steve, and I'm here with Bill. Good afternoon, Bill.
Good afternoon, Steve.
So what we're going to do today, and over the course of many future episodes, is give you the experience of what it's like to be out in the field, in the woods, and on the trail. For every episode, we pick a natural history topic, research the science on that topic, head out to a natural area, and share with you everything that we learned. So Bill, why don't you tell the audience where we are today?
Sure. This is a little bit different for us because normally we jump right into the topic and forget to tell people where we are.
The reason that I did it now is because I knew I would forget.
So we are at the 18-Mile Creek Conservation Park, and this is a county park located in Hamburg, New York. So it is about 15-20 minutes southeast of Buffalo. And this is almost 500 acres here. I didn't realize it was that big. And there's actually two branches of 18-Mile Creek that meet around this park. There's a 60-foot gorge, and most of the land that we're going to be walking on is up above the gorge, so it's going to be hopefully relatively flat. But I didn't realize that this is a big place to look for fossils.
Oh, really?
So there's abundant fossils here. There's shale and limestone layers, so you can find Devonian fossils here. There's corals, crinoids, trilobites. And then this is also a spot that's popular for steelhead trout runs.
Oh, cool.
So I'm sure Daniel, our former co-host, he's listening, and I'm sure he's glad that we mentioned that.
You know, this isn't too far from that fossil place. There's some fossil park in Hamburg.
That's right. So folks here in Western New York, there's a place called the Penn-Dixie Quarry.
That's
right?
it, Penn-Dixie.
I think it used to be a quarry, but now it's a nature center, and it's a popular site to go hunting for fossils.
Yeah, in my lab we actually have a little bag that says Penn-Dixie on it, and there's a bunch of rocks with fossils in it.
Now, did you know why 18-Mile Creek is called 18-Mile Creek?
I was actually going to ask, I wonder how long it actually is in miles, because I want to know if the name is literal or not, or what.
So, we've both lived in this area our whole lives.
Yeah.
And I never knew that it's called 18-Mile Creek because that's the distance from the Niagara River's mouth at Lake Ontario.
Wait, what?
I know, right? Isn't that confusing?
Yeah, I'm a little confused still.
So, folks, obviously, if you're not from Western New York, you may not know the 18-Mile Creek, it empties into Lake Erie, which then flows down the Niagara River and into Lake Ontario and then on to the St. Lawrence Seaway out to the Atlantic. But apparently in the 18th century, a lot of waterways in this area, they were named based on their distance from the Niagara River, where Fort Niagara is.
Oh.
So since those were such important sites, at that time, they named a lot of the creeks and rivers based on their distance from there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I never would have guessed that.
Me either. But see, fact of the podcast right there.
Yeah.
All right, so why are we here, Steve?
All right, so today, and actually speaking of fossils, today we're going to be talking about a living fossil called sturgeon.
Oh.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to be talking about them as a group, and I'm also going to be kind of talking about them in a more general. So we'll have some sciencey stuff in there, some history stuff in there, some anecdotal stuff in there, but hopefully it's still a fun episode.
I think it will be, because before we turn on the mic, everybody, Steve said, so this isn't going to be like a really sciencey episode. And I'm thinking, oh, thank God.
But the taxonomy is always sciencey. I can't help it, you know.
I figured there'd be a little bit of that in there.
Yeah, so what we're going to be talking about in general, and you'll notice that I'm not going to be bringing up too many species here, but there are 27 species of sturgeon in 4 genera. So you have Acipenseridae, Huso, Scapharanchus, and Pseudoscapharanchus.
So these are genera of sturgeon.
Yeah.
Now,
and you won't hear me bring up these names again. I just wanted to let you know there's 4 of them.
All right. Now, before we get into that, are you going to tell people what sturgeon are? Because there's probably a lot of people that don't know.
I'm going to tell people.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
But first, why am I even interested in sturgeon in the first place, all right?
Yeah.
So isn't it just another fish? Like, maybe if you think back to the grass carp episode, I said, what does this thing look like? And I'm like, just like a fish that you would draw as a kindergartner, you know?
Uh-huh.
That's not true with sturgeon.
Right.
They kind of look crazy. So, Bill, I want you to sort of describe what you're looking at, all right?
Oh, so we have some visual aids here.
Yeah, so I decided that for this episode, would kind of be a cool thing to see Bill's reaction to this thing that doesn't look all that typical.
It looks like...
Can you also describe the job that your printer did on some of these pictures? Because I had these beautiful images that I chose. And Bill's printer, I think it's on its last leg or it's totally out of ink or something.
I'm too cheap to buy new color cartridges.
Yeah.
So this looks like one of those fish you see in those illustrations of prehistorical underwater landscapes. So this fish looks like a bottom feeder. So it's very flat on the bottom. It has kind of a long snout and whiskers hanging down. To me, it looks like a primitive fish.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's a living fossil.
Yeah. I mean, it looks different than...
Right.
You wouldn't draw this by mistake.
No, and to see that fish, you'd be like, what the hell's going on with that fish?
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously a fish, but...
Right.
But something's going on there.
Okay, I wanted Bill to give his own description that wasn't, like, biased by any scientific writing or anything. But yeah, so sturgeon have many distinct features that set them apart from other fish. So they have something called a heterocercal caudal or tail fin. And it looks like a shark tail fin. Yes,
I was thinking that when I was finished describing it and you were talking, I was thinking, I wish I had said like that. The back end of the fish looks like a shark.
Yeah. It's sort of weird because you don't really see that. It's actually a primitive type of trait. It kind of reflects that ancient origin, that early branching of the sturgeon from all other fish.
Okay.
Yeah. So they also have these long, smooth, scaleless bodies that have 5 lateral rows of body plates called scutes. So they're a little bit hard to see in the picture, but it's just like there's like a row sort of near the bottom of the fish, a row kind of along the middle of the fish, another one on top of the fish, like along its spine, and then the same on the other side. So it has these 5 rows.
And you said they're scaleless.
They're smooth-bodied.
Oh, wow.
These scutes are actually kind of like scales. I think they're actually derived from scales.
Okay.
But they cover very little of the body.
Are they derived from scales, or does scales derive from them?
I think they're derived from scales.
All right.
I believe, but I can correct that in the episode notes.
All right.
So many species reach 7 to 12 feet, with the longest sturgeon ever recorded being a beluga. The species is huso. It's a beluga female measuring 23 feet 7 inches long.
Holy cow.
And weighing 3,463 pounds.
So, wait, how heavy?
3,463 pounds.
This is like an existing fish that someone caught?
It was like in the 1800s.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, you couldn't trust their weights.
Right. I eyeballed it.
So you called it a beluga? So it is that?
The common name is beluga, scientific name huso.
All right, so it's a beluga sturgeon.
Yep.
It's not a beluga whale.
No, it's not a beluga whale. Yeah. I do wonder where the beluga name comes from. I never looked into that.
Well, right. You say beluga, that's what I picture.
So the longest sturgeon is a beluga whale. Also, their lifespan is also very long, living into their 60s, while others can apparently live over 150 years, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So, as you guessed, and you were right about, sturgeon are benthivores, or bottom feeders. Mm-hmm. They have a unique feeding strategy using 4 specialized whisker-like appendages that dangle between the tip of their snout and their mouth called barbels. And what these do is they feel for invertebrates such as crustaceans, worms, and mollusks on the riverbed. So most species are what's called anadromous, meaning that they migrate upstream from marine environments to spawn in freshwater rivers during the spring or summer, spending the majority of their lives feeding in the river deltas and estuaries.
I feel like Daniel talked about anadromous.
He did, because he talked about
king
trout, right? Or salmon.
Salmon, yeah.
Yep. So some species are actually exclusively freshwater, like the pallid and shovel-nosed sturgeon, while others are amphidromous, meaning that
they come on land.
Yeah. They live primarily in their natal rivers and estuaries, but they'll venture into coastal marine waters for short feeding trips.
All right, so they can go from fresh to salt too.
Kind of in-betweenish fresh and salt to salt.
Okay.
Yeah. You'll see here that sturgeon have a lot of salt tolerance, whether it's fresh water to salt water, and they're kind of really interesting for that.
And again, for the listeners that aren't from our area, can I just ask, this is maybe too much of a sidetrack because I know you're going through your notes here, but so we have sturgeon here in Lake Erie.
Mm-hmm.
So here in Western New York, this is a place where people see sturgeon and you can view sturgeon pretty readily.
Readily, I think,
Is an overstatement
because their numbers are way lower than they used to be.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that a little bit more later because pretty much every population has more or less declined to like a small fraction of what it used to be. Like sturgeon used to be a really, really popular fish for eating and everything else, but we'll get into that.
So this is going to be a happy episode.
Yeah, this is a really good one. Yeah. So again, we'll talk about this one a little bit later as well.
Okay.
But they mature late and they spawn infrequently. So for example, the male short-nosed sturgeon typically matures between 2 and 18 years, and it spawns every 1 to 2 years, with females maturing later, like potentially up to 20 years, and they only spawn once every 3 to 5 years. But they do produce 30,000 to 200,000 eggs per year, depending on the age and size, or per year that they spawn, anyway. So, just in general, sturgeons are native to subtropical, temperate, and sub-Arctic rivers, lakes, and coastlines across Eurasia and North America.
It's like everywhere.
Yeah, pretty much everywhere.
Except tropical.
Yeah, global is usually how people talk about them.
Yeah.
Historically, they are found in the greatest abundance in the rivers of southern Russia and Ukraine, as well as the freshwaters of North America, including the Mississippi River Valley, Great Lakes, and the Pacific Coast. So this is a slowly changing species in a slowly changing world, and they have thrived for millions of years through multiple geological epochs. The dinosaurs were wiped out about 66 million years ago, but the sturgeons kept trekking on, or trekking on, I should say. So surely a species wouldn't come along that causes rapid environmental change that puts the sturgeon populations at risk. Surely.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. But before we talk about more interesting stuff, let's do a little bit of a taxonomic review.
Okay, well, let's walk what we did.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to sort of start at the top because I think we've had like 3 fish episodes in the history of the podcast. And I like talking about taxonomy, so I think this is only going to be the second time we go through some taxonomy. It won't be as in-depth as I did with grass carp, but you will hear some of the same things. But it's good, it's good to hear the same thing more than once,
So, and I just want to point out that this is our 3rd fish episode in less than a year.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy.
Because of Daniel's existence and because me now researching some fish. So.
Yeah, we should point out, folks, this is a all Steve episode. So I did absolutely no research for this episode at all. It was kind of nice. My job was just to bring the mic.
Don't lie to the audience.
What?
Because you came ready to talk about 18-Mile Creek.
Oh, that's true.
And that was appreciated.
Sure.
All right, so first of all, fish are vertebrates. Meaning that they have a spine or backbone and a cranium or skull. So this is your fish, amphibians, mammals, reptiles, and birds. And this is about 65,000 species overall. And some of you might be saying, wait a minute, you just named a bunch of fish.
Oh, God.
And to that I would say, exactly right. And you're actually learning something from this podcast.
Folks, I'm sorry.
Next, we're going to jump into a group called ray-finned fish,
or
Actinopterygii.
All right, so I feel like we have to stop and point out this joke here. Because this is completely just Steve-centric humor that no one else gets. If you listened to the grass carp episode, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're all ray-finned fish.
No.
No?
We're all lobe-finned fish. But we could just say we're all fish.
Well, you can see I kind of usually just kind of zone out when you start
right.
talking about that.
But you got so close. You only had one part of a word wrong.
One branch away, man.
Yeah, really.
So Steve's talking about, evolutionarily speaking, we are on the same branch.
Phylogenomically speaking.
Okay.
We are nested within fish.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
We would have to rename all the fish to different things in order to not be fish. All right.
So when you were talking about vertebrates,
yeah,
you were making a taxonomic joke, right?
Right.
All right.
Fish are vertebrates, and then I named a bunch of other stuff that are arguably fish as well. Okay.
Arguably.
Yeah.
By only Steve.
Okay. Next, we're going to jump to a group of fish called the ray-finned fish or Actinopterygii. These ones cannot be confused with mammals and birds and stuff. They're a different lineage, all right?
So they separated from all the other groups a long time ago.
They did.
Yeah.
Yep, and this makes up about just over 50% of all vertebrates. The other 49% of vertebrate species are tetrapods.
What are tetrapods, Steve?
Well, I would say that they're the most successful group of lobe-finned fish. But what I mean by tetrapods are reptiles, amphibians, mammals, birds, blah, blah, blah.
Right, okay.
But who cares? Because the next taxonomic group that sturgeon are not a part of are that they're not teleost fish, which is noteworthy because teleost fish make up 95.72% of all fish species and 99.83% of all bony fish species.
And you're saying that sturgeon are not part of those?
And they're not that.
All right, so sturgeon are very unlike most fish.
Yeah, there are very few bony fish that are non-teleost fish.
Okay.
So these include the sister group to all teleost fish, which are the bowfin and gars. Now, Bill has a picture of some bowfin, a bowfin and a gar in front of him. And do you want to kind of describe what you're looking at? Because, by the way, I gave him sturgeon to begin with. Sturgeon look kind of weird, as we described. But these guys also kind of look a little weird. Mostly the gar, but...
So they're slender, kind of long-bodied fish, but they're different in that the bowfin has a very stubby head and a very short, rounded back fin, whereas the gar has a much longer, narrower snout attached to its
like
head.
Even more narrow than those, what's that type of alligator or crocodile with the caimans?
Yeah.
Even more than that. Like it's got a super, super long snout,
Like I can see some similarities on their back ends, like their rear fins look somewhat similar, but their heads look completely different. Like the bowfin, it's almost like you took a head off a different fish and stuck it on the bowfin.
So both of them have very like elongated bodies. They kind of they do look a little different. These are not as different as sturgeon, in my opinion. The gar are definitely weird.
Yeah.
But even still, okay. And then you have the sister group to bowfins, gars, and teleost fish, which are the Acipenseriforms or sturgeon and paddlefish. So you already saw sturgeon. Now look at this crazy looking paddlefish.
This looks like as if you tried to tell AI to build a fish and it didn't do a good job, right?
Yeah.
Because it has this incredibly long upper snout, I guess you would call it, and then its lower lip is way shorter. It looks like the Muppet Gonzo if you stretched out his curly nose part.
I'm so glad that you compared it to Muppets because the jaw looks very Muppet-like, like it wants to keep hanging open. Like there's some demonic nightmare fuel Muppets out there, and it's got that nightmare fuel mouth. But the paddle of the paddlefish, that thing's just shooting out from its nose. This long, narrow paddle thing. It's
wacky.
Wild. Yeah.
Look up paddlefish, folks, if you're not driving.
Right.
It's worth looking.
You know what? It's worth it. Look it up even if you're driving.
But the back end you can see the similarities to the sturgeon.
It's got that shark-like tail again. Yeah. Very,
so weird.
Very cool looking species.
Yeah.
And there's only 2 species of paddlefish, by the way, so I think you're looking at both of them.
Oh, okay.
And they both look wild.
Yes.
All right, so ultimately what I'm trying to say with this is that sturgeon are in a rare category of fish. They're in the 0.17% of all bony fish that do not have this whole genome duplication that is present in the ancestor of all teleost fish and its descendants. This whole genome duplication event was important for the speciation and diversity of fish that we see today, and it's not present in sturgeon. We won't really be talking about whole genome duplications today, but if you are interested in learning more information about that, if you haven't already, check out the grass carp episode because genome duplication is really important for the evolutionary history and even the modern history of grass carp.
Way to go, Steve. And as you're saying that, I'm like, we're going to have listeners that don't understand what genome duplication is because I really don't understand, folks. But I was going to tell people.
I don't want to spend 2 episodes going through it, so I feel like I thought it was a good episode. We go through a lot of stuff, so.
Yeah, but I was going to tell people to go listen to the grass carp episode, so that's awesome. So, folks, just as Steve just said, I think it's important for those of you who aren't taxonomists or tons with knowledge about evolutionary history.
Yeah.
You're going out of your way just to point out how specialized really sturgeon are.
Yeah, I do also need to add, that sturgeon have also undergone their own independent whole genome duplication events, but I'm not really going to bring that up at all. But it is a very interesting story.
But you just did.
That could be. I'm not going to go into detail at all because it's a very interesting story that maybe a future episode can try to handle. But it's a little bit complicated, but it's very cool.
I'm always wondering, like, what special things can we do for the patrons of the podcast?
Mm-hmm.
We could do like Steve's deep dive for
into polyploidy, into whole genome duplication. Yeah. Now, I should have shown you this earlier, but I want you to interpret where elephants are. Oh. This is a I'm giving Bill a tree of all fish species and also mammals as well. Or sorry, all tetrapods as well.
So you want me to figure out where?
So the earliest branching group are cartilaginous fish. This is like sharks and whatnot.
Yeah.
Rays and whatnot. And then you have ray-finned fish. This is where like all fish that you think of are ray-finned fish, and that's including sturgeon. And then after that, they branch off, and you get coelacanths and lungfish. These are your lobe-finned fish.
Okay.
And then, who branches off after the lobe-finned fish?
So it looks like lungfish and almost a lot of the other animal groups, right? The mammals, birds, amphibians. Reptiles, are they in there?
How would you interpret this? If we're trying to make monophyletic groups, the only way to make a monophyletic group out of fish, right?
Is to say that
if we only included these 4 groups, that's not a monophyletic group. That's missing all of this stuff.
That's true. You're missing birds and mammals.
Yeah.
Right?
So the tetrapods make a monophyletic group, but it's a monophyletic group within the fish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's when you make your joke that are related to lobe-finned fish.
Yeah.
Yes, I can see on this chart what you're talking about.
Yeah, so ray-finned fish, they're monophyletic. Lobe-finned fish, they can only be monophyletic if you include all the tetrapods.
And again, folks, monophyletic means you can trace all those within that group back to a common ancestor.
Yeah, and the common ancestor is part of that group as well. So it's all the descendants and the common ancestor.
All right.
Yep.
So why are you showing me this?
Just to prove my point. I want to show you. This is totally false, but no, I'm kidding. No, that's a real tree. That's a legitimate phylogeny right there.
I'm barely hanging on here, like understanding what you're talking about. So all those folks out there wondering the same thing, I'm with you. I feel you.
Did that not make sense, the tree?
No, it did. Actually, the visual aid helped a lot. Like, I feel like we should include that in the episode notes.
Sure, yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
All right. Now that we got that out of the way, or Bill's insulting me over text.
I'm not insulting me. It's not trying to.
I want Bill to try something really quick. Actually, how about this? Close your eyes.
Oh, God.
Okay, ready?
No, I'm not ready. What
Open
are you
your
going to do? All right, Steve, just put something in my mouth. You know people hate the sound of chewing on the microphone, right?
No, I think our audience wanted more of that. We've never really done it before.
No, it tastes meaty.
All right.
What did I just eat?
That's actually something called Charles City bacon, and it's actually made out of Atlantic sturgeon.
Oh.
Anywho, let's move on to the IUCN Red List.
Are you serious?
No, I'm not. I wouldn't trick you into eating fish.
Well, I would have gotten angry for dramatic effect, but it wouldn't have insulted me too much. So what did I just eat?
It was some vegan thing. I just wanted the moment, you know.
Wow.
But first, before I even describe what I'm talking about with this Charles City bacon, I want to talk about the IUCN Red List for sturgeon.
Okay.
Because if that was sturgeon, that would probably have been a very bad thing.
Would have been eating endangered species on the mic.
Right. So I searched for sturgeon on the IUCN Red List, and it turns out that 27 species are vulnerable or worse.
Oh.
Yeah, so there's one extinct. There's one extinct in the wild. There's 17 critically endangered, 3 endangered, 5 vulnerable, including the Atlantic sturgeon that Bill just ate, and 1 of least concern. But that last one of least concern is not actually a sturgeon.
Oh.
It just so happens that it's called a sturgeon chub. That's actually, it's not related to sturgeon at all. It's actually related to carps and minnows.
So it's named a sturgeon, but okay.
Yeah,
got
it's
it.
not. It's a false. What do they call them? Misnomers.
Yeah.
It's a misnomer.
So, and that's why it's the one that is of least concern.
Okay, so let's talk about why I pretended to have Billy this Charles City bacon.
Let's.
Yeah. So I found this article about a business owner in Richmond, Virginia, named George Bannister, who used to sell a dish called barbecued Charles City bacon, which was actually Atlantic sturgeon. So I'm just going to read from this 1885 ad in this local newspaper. It's called the Richmond Dispatch on April 25th, 1885. So it says, from 10 until 2 o'clock, the first of the season, barbecued Charles City bacon at George Bannister's 15 North 13th Street. Now, at first, you're like, okay, well, it's just bacon, whatever. But it turns out, you can go to this article from the Times Dispatch from 1903, where it says, Charles City bacon, so plentiful have sturgeons always been in this country that they are called Charles City bacon. Of recent years, the numbers have fallen off owing to the thousands of young sturgeon, or hand mauls, as they are called, having been caught and destroyed in the nets at the mouth of the James River. But a recent enactment of legislature has provided against the wholesale slaughter of these most valuable fish, and the last year of upper waters of the river were once more full of them. This old-timey writing is really hard to read, to be honest.
And what was the year on this?
This one was 1903, where they were basically like, they used to be plentiful, but not anymore.
Well, that was the time, again, folks, I'm sure many of you are with us, that was the time in our history when people began to realize, things aren't, infinitely available, because a lot of bird protection legislation and other things started happening in the early 1900s.
Yeah, so people were advertising Charles City bacon in 1885. Things weren't going all that well by 1903. And then in 1904, I found another little piece of from the Times Dispatch, and they wrote, that famous fish, the sturgeon, is being caught in larger numbers here than for several years past, and they're being sold at 8 to 10 cents a pound here. Once again, we are happy. When quote-unquote Charles City bacon is plentiful, there is more contentment in the square mile than in all the rest of the world.
Oh, wow.
So people loved this stuff.
Apparently.
Yeah. So it seemed like in 1904, things have started to bounce back a little bit, but then I have this quote from this report titled State of Our Bay, Return of the Giant. So it said, by 1890 or so, they noticed that the typical size of the sturgeon, historically 10 to 12 feet, was now more like 8 to 10 feet. So they began ordering nets with 10-inch mesh instead of the 13-inch. But before long, the average fish size was closer to 6 feet. At the time, of course, nobody knew that females didn't reach sexual maturity until they were about 6 feet, so without realizing it, they had now begun to eat the seed corn. That is, they were harvesting the last of the spawning stock. At the turn of the 20th century, the inevitable happened. The sturgeon population crashed. Up and down the coast, the watermen turned to other species. So in 1926, the last sturgeon fishing operation on the Potomac closed down. Gradually, most people forgot about the fish.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because have you heard about people eating sturgeon?
No.
Did you know anything about sturgeon?
No,
in terms of it being historically important anywhere.
No.
Yeah.
Not especially as a food fish, no.
Mm-hmm. So that's all I learned about this bacon thing, all right? So to summarize, the sturgeon aren't really doing well, but they do taste good. Natives actually taught the Jamestown colonists how to fish for sturgeon, which helped them actually survive that first year in 1607, and sturgeon remained an important food source for the next 300 years. And actually, bacon was the surprising find, but sturgeon are much more known for caviar.
Oh, so they're eggs.
Yeah, did you know that sturgeon roe?
No.
That is caviar.
Still?
Yeah, even now.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
no, I had no idea.
There are caviar alternatives that are from other species, but I'll mention that in a second.
Okay.
So they're more well known for caviar, and it's probably more related to the sturgeon's downfall. It's been recorded since the 1600s, but Virginia watermen learned how to salt and cure caviar in the 1800s, which made that market explode. So large, mature females with their long lifespans, like I said, up to 60 years for Atlantic sturgeon, reach maturity late in life. usually in their teenage years, and only spawn every 2 to 3 years. And suddenly they were under this intense and sustained fishing pressure. Because the biology was overlooked, the sturgeon populations predictably collapsed. Caviar, which is derived from eggs, was directly responsible for the destruction of the source of that product.
So when they talk about beluga caviar, is that...
That's beluga's a sturgeon.
Oh, I never made that.
I never even knew beluga caviar was a thing because I've never had caviar.
I've never had caviar either, but, you know, when I think of caviar, that name beluga caviar, and maybe I just always assumed it was related to beluga. No, I did not relate it to beluga whales because obviously they don't lay eggs.
Now you know the scientific name for beluga.
What?
Do you know it?
No.
Huso.
Huso? What does huso mean?
I don't know, but if Tom Kerr liked fish, this would be his favorite fish. Sorry, he likes tyrannus, which is the kingbird.
The eastern kingbird, yes.
I think it's because it's easy to remember.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Huso. So that's the beluga sturgeon.
And Tom's a good friend of ours, but we make fun of him on this podcast, and no one knows who he is.
Out of love.
It's
yes.
like we're referencing someone everyone knows. Yeah. Okay, so overexploitation, along with habitat destruction and pollution that wrecked the benthic feeding environments that sturgeon rely on, as well as where they deposit their eggs, led to the catastrophic decline that we still see today. So there is an unending list of examples where economic gain without an understanding of biology and ecology that provided that opportunity in the first place led to the destruction of the foundation for that profit. It's a lesson that's really hard to learn because it just seems like we move on to the next new normal. You know, like at one point sturgeon were really important, and then at some point everyone forgot that they were even a thing.
Because they had wiped them out almost.
I know, it's depressing, but what can you do? You know, I don't know. Like,
well, my question...
I feel like I'm caught in a torrent of moving forward.
That's true. Now, my question is, I don't know if this is part of your research, but have there been efforts to like restore sturgeon populations?
There have been, and we'll touch on that near the end.
Okay.
But it's a long road.
Yeah.
And I'll briefly mention that. So, as I said, today sturgeon are still farmed for caviar, but salmon, paddlefish, trout, and various other quote-unquote sushi caviars, like tobiko, I guess it's a type of fish,
yeah.
are more affordable and accessible caviar substitutes, catering to a wider consumer base. Yeah. I guess there's a number of sturgeon farms, like in China, for example. So there's a lot that comes out of that.
Sure.
But there's all these other fish alternatives as well. And you'll see like salmon caviar, the eggs are like a little bit smaller than the sturgeon caviar. It's, you know, they all have their own looks to them.
We know nothing about caviar.
Yeah, I'm not. Have you ever had it?
No.
No,
Never.
I haven't either. Unless I've bought sushi, but it had really, really tiny little. Do you think those are fish eggs? Those tiny little orange dots?
Yeah, not sure.
I think they're at once upon a time when I ate fish sushi.
Yeah.
I probably did have I think that's some little tiny fish eggs on it. I don't know.
So if you ate caviar, you're not sure.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pause right here, Steve, just because I want to apologize to the audience that in the background there is a lawnmower that has been pretty much going the entire time.
I know, and I thought we were at a pretty good natural spot. Why don't we keep walking?
Yeah, maybe we can get away from it.
Yeah, I think this has happened one other time.
Yeah.
I can't remember the location we were at, but it was just a lawnmower going nonstop throughout the entire episode. And the thing is, they probably started just before the episode and stopped just after the episode.
So those of you that are still listening, thank you for sticking with it.
Yeah.
You're getting the true experience of what it's like to be here right now.
You know, I'm a pro AI guy, and I think someday we'll have AI that can edit the lawnmower out of the background of our recording. So that's my hope anyway. All right, so to give you an idea of the current state of things, the Atlantic sturgeon is listed as critically endangered and is even considered possibly extinct in the wild in Europe, having experienced population declines up to 100%, which I guess it was 100%. Yeah. Within the last 3 generations, some areas have had fewer than 50 mature individuals.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So similarly, the lake sturgeon has seen a greater than 75% reduction in its population size over the past 3 generations, with some subpopulations declining by over 90%. And the Great Lakes population is estimated at less than 1% of historical numbers.
Wow, so
yeah.
Almost gone.
Yeah.
Barely hanging on.
So I said before that migration was very important for sturgeon. I wonder how many times I've said salmon throughout the episode instead of sturgeon. Because I keep wanting to say it, and I just don't know if I've actually said it yet. Even when I say Atlantic sturgeon, I want to say Atlantic salmon.
I don't know. I'm pretty confident. I think I've been paying attention. And
okay.
Yeah.
I hope I've only said sturgeon so far. So, dams are actually a big problem for sturgeon because they block historical spawning grounds. It's blocking the upstream migration by adults and the downstream migration of juveniles. And dams, they also do things like they'll alter river flow patterns, they'll change water temperatures, and they'll cause scouring, fundamentally transforming ecosystems.
Right. So, folks, if you have a large dam, especially hydroelectric dams, they'll often do water releases to generate more power at certain times of the day. So you get these massive rushes of water, and they scour the riverbed. So.
Yeah. So some people may be saying there's some engineering of these migration passages for some fish.
Around dams you're talking about? Yeah. But the percentages of the fish that make it are pretty small. And
it's actually especially bad for sturgeon. I think it's only something like 2% make it through.
Yeah.
So even if it's working better for some species, for one reason or another, it tends not to work very well for sturgeon. So there's this idea of, well, maybe there's not really this idea, but there is no one size fits all for this problem. Sturgeons, maybe because how big they are, or because of their migration timing or migration needs, the solution isn't the same for sturgeon as it is for other migrating fish.
Right. And I don't want to sound like I'm just dismissing these efforts out of hand, just saying, oh, they're all not worth it. But there's, like you said, it's very species specific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And that's a lot of what I had, but I do have a little bit on the end for what's currently being done for sturgeon. So scientists are trying to do a lot. They come up with methods for accurately aging sturgeon. So this is really important when you're trying to figure out cohort groups, like the health and sizes of various year cohorts, like of all the salmon born that year.
You just said salmon.
For all the sturgeon born that year, it finally happened. And in the past, it hasn't been all that reliable because there are some methods for aging that are based on scales.
Wait, I thought you said they don't have scales.
For other fish, it's based on scales.
Gotcha.
So as you said just now, sturgeon can't be aged that way.
Yeah.
There's also some other aging techniques for like fins. They'll actually do like fin clips. And they can count like the rings in that bony structure.
Uh-huh.
But that's also less reliable for sturgeon as well. So, we're trying to develop these more accurate aging methods. So we've been able to delineate populations pretty well. And we could look for differences between them. We can measure their health, gene flow with other populations, and we could understand things like their resilience to climate change, for example. There is also AI, which I already brought up AI at least once this episode, that can do this non-invasive sex determination by imaging alone. So it can see things that the human eye cannot see, or cannot at least distinguish between the sexes. Initial models achieved 76% accuracy,
Wow.
Which has since improved to 90%. So the goal here is to be able to identify sex even at earlier than 3 years old, which is really hard to do. You can do it in invasive ways, but you don't want to be handling the fish, stressing them out. But if you just have AI have a picture of it,
Boom.
super non-invasive,
Yeah.
super, low stress, everything. Really great. There's also been efforts for habitat restoration, specifically with benthic environments, because they're benthic feeders. There's been a lot of pollution and destruction that sort of have tainted those environments. And they actually have been opening up migration routes. And they've actually been engineering sturgeon-specific migration channels, like specifically made for salmon because the other ones weren't working. Specifically made for sturgeon because the others weren't working for the sturgeon. So this kind of shows us the importance of doing species-specific engineering when it comes to trying to restore a species to what it once was. One thing that was kind of interesting, though, is that accidental discoveries have also played a significant role in shifting held-long beliefs about sturgeon. So in March 2004, an unexpected catch of a 6-inch sturgeon by a bunch of 8th grade students on a Chesapeake Bay Foundation workboat provided the first evidence of natural reproduction in the James River in 51 years.
Hey, way to go, kids.
Yeah, so it's like this serendipitous discovery by non-experts. It provided critical proof that professional biologists had been missing. And it sort of underscores the power of citizen science and unexpected sources of discovery and knowledge.
Yeah.
So the road ahead is a long one, but some improvements have been made for sturgeon.
It's a very long road ahead.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
And just to wrap up, sturgeon are more than just ancient fish. They are living links to our planet's deep past. They are critical indicators of ecosystem health and powerful symbols of what dedicated, scientifically informed conservation can achieve. Their continued survival depends on our collective willingness to learn from history, embrace innovation, and commit to the sustained collaborative effort required to protect these magnificent creatures for future generations. They may have said, was that a quote from something? And I tried to wrap this up. Our audience is going to get mad at me. I had an AI generate that last paragraph for me.
I was going to ask that.
Yeah, it's this is now the third AI mentioned this episode. But so yeah,
My AI detector was going off.
yeah. So I mean, that's what we got.
That's what we have on sturgeon.
Yeah.
All right.
I hope you guys enjoyed the episode.
Yeah, I did. I did next to nothing. Next to nothing.
Next to nothing.
About
you
sturgeon.
are standing within the approximation of nothing.
All right, so next to nothing is what I knew about sturgeon. So now I feel like I know a little more than that. I hope I'm right there with the listeners. All right, so we're going to do our wrap up. And first and foremost, we'd like to thank our growing list of Patreon supporters. So thank you to our new patrons, Holly M., Catherine W., and Virginia A. We also want to give a shout out to Zach W. He wrote in and asked us to do an episode on great horned owls.
Oh.
And then he sent us a picture of his own great horned owl that he uses for falconry.
Oh, cool.
Yes. And as I was writing that in the wrap-up notes, I was asking myself, if he's just doing it with owls, is it still called falconry?
Yeah.
And apparently it is.
Nice.
Yeah, no matter what you're using,
I wonder
it's still called falconry.
I wonder if falcon has some other meaning, but I don't think so. I think it was just a mistake of history that it was called that.
Well,
that would
apparently
be my guess.
falcons were what was predominantly used. They were like
I believe that.
the best bird group for that specific person. So some people used to call it also hawking.
Oh.
Because hawks were often used, but then that became related more with like merchants hawking their wares.
Right. And
they
Stephen Hawking.
No, not at all.
Oh.
And
well,
then
it's clearly been associated with them.
we also got a message from one of our patrons, Fragaria papillonoidea.
Whoa, Fragaria.
Yeah, so if you've been listening to Violet read the list of patrons, that name rings a bell to you because in our last episode, Violet and I, as she was reading the...
Hold on, is that strawberry? Why am I... It's
very
like,
good, very
I'm
good.
like on the verge.
Yes,
yeah.
so it's going to come up. So while Violet was reading the list, I asked, just kind of wondering, I wonder if she's pronouncing that correctly.
Yeah.
So this patron actually wrote in, and she said, I think Violet has indeed been pronouncing papillonoidea correctly. To be fair, I've never heard it pronounced. It's the superfamily that contains all butterflies and most moths. Fragaria is, of course... Strawberry. That, I feel ashamed that never occurred to me. Like, I should have known that. It just never occurred in my head. So that's the strawberry genus. She said, I hear this one all the time. I'm a strawberry breeder and geneticist.
Whoa, that's cool.
And Violet has pronounced it perfectly.
Wait, is this person rich? Do we have a rich patron?
I don't know. If they're a strawberry
If you
breeder
are.
and geneticist, probably not.
I don't know. I think
I've never heard anybody say, yeah, I made my money in strawberry breeding.
I think my kid would make a strawberry breeder pretty rich because of how many strawberries he goes through.
That is true. They said, I've been very impressed with Violet pronouncing the full name every time. And I wouldn't be sad if she started saying strawberry butterfly instead, as that's what it means.
Right.
So thank you for writing in. And I said she, but I'm not sure if it's a male or female. But we appreciate you writing in. And they said, thanks for the good time. And then I also wanted to give a quick shout out. We had a 3rd grade teacher from California write in. I don't know if you saw this email.
I don't think I did.
Very long email. They spent a lot of time. They shared some ideas of things we could do. I wanted to save that for the next episode because I feel like we didn't have enough time to do it justice here. So we'll talk about that in the wrap up next time. We also want to give a special shout out each month to our top patrons. So stick around for the end of the episode to hear my daughter Violet share that list.
And if you'd like to support the podcast, consider becoming a patron of our show on patreon.com. Or you can make a one-time donation through PayPal on our website. We also want to thank P. Maureen M. for their generous donation this month. Oh yeah, thank you. And you can always help out by sharing the podcast with friends and family and by subscribing and leaving us a review wherever you get your podcasts. It helps spread the word and allows us to reach a wider audience. We want to thank our newest iTunes reviewer, Nick's 357,210.
Well done.
There we go. Had to give him the proper number. So come enjoy our sporadic posts on Facebook, Instagram, and Blue Sky. And you can always email us ideas for episode topics, criticisms, or your own personal encounters with sturgeon to thefieldguides@gmail.com.
And parents, remember to get those kids outside. Let them get muddy, let them get dirty, let them flip over rocks and logs and look for sturgeon. And if you don't have kids, please make some time to get yourself outside. And folks, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
And here's Violet with this episode's top patrons.
Eric, Alyssa, Adam, Mary, Colin G, Dr. Judy, Kimberly B, Peter R, Callie, Rich K, The Hebranks, Orange Julianne, Rachel L, The Drunk Phytologist, Daniel M, Diane, We Named the Dog Indy, Hot Dog Cold Weather, Dwayne H, Jennifer D, Jonathan A, Michaela, Val, Andy W, Elizabeth P, Picasso 3, John R, Evan, Mark T, Cecilia, Julie B, Dennis, Chris N, Sung, Jeff S, Jonathan K, Matt E, Plants in My Pants, Ryan R, Sophie S, Connor H, Measure and Principle, Fragaria pepiloinoidea, Outside Chronicles, Andrew C, Quixote, Max D, Melissa Marie in Dusty, Arizona, Kelly S, Sarah S, Helen A, Judy F, Ben C, Jane H, Doodle 82, Gail and Mac, Kazzies, Jeff S, Esther C, John W, Mark V, Bethany H, Rob M, Holly M.
Thank you, Violet.
You're welcome.
And thank you, patrons. Steve and I appreciate all of your support, and we will continue to try to live up to it.
Goodbye.